and welcome to our second breakout session. Can you just let me know if you can hear me well, if you can see me? Just put it in the chat box so that I know that we're live and okay. Okay, I'm seeing the responses. Fantastic. All right, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from in the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're really excited. I'm really excited for this session. Just before we go into it, and we have such a short time, so I'm going to try and, pack a lot of things into this. I see our speaker. Okay, so just before we go into it, I just wanted to congratulate you for picking the session. It shows a level of expectancy. And when you think of the first miracle that Peter did, Gate Beautiful, it says that the layman looked with expectancy. So he was expectant and then he got his miracle. So my prayer is that as everyone that is on this session is expectant, you will receive your miracle in Jesus' name. Amen. And so the vessel that God has selected and chosen to deliver the miracle, let me tell you a little bit about her. Nkiru Olumide-Ojo is an author, corporate general manager, female enthusiast, and a lover of Africa. She holds 2 decades of experience in strategic marketing and corporate communications, which spans across various sectors, including financial services, aviation, telecommunication, and the oil and gas sectors. An expert reputation and crisis communication manager, she currently works as regional head of marketing and communications at a financial services group in South Africa. Nkiru holds board-level experience, having sat on the boards of Stanbic IBTC Trustees Limited and CMC Connect Burton Mastella. She holds a master's degree in strategic marketing management from Kingston University, Surrey, London, a postgraduate diploma in management, and a first degree in biological sciences. She's also a John Maxwell certified coach, trainer, and speaker. Nkiru is the published author of The Pressure Cooker, Lessons from a Woman at Work. The book is fantastic. I have my copy right here. I will show you at the end of the session. As a female enthusiast, Nkiru is keen to see women develop leadership skills and is the founder of a female social development organization, the Lighthouse Women's Network. Nkiru is married to Olumide, and they have 2 children. And she's going to be our speaker today. Obviously, if you're here, you know what we're speaking about. But in case the Spirit led you here, let me remind you, we're going to be talking about career, business, finding balance, success, and fulfillment. How do we do that? And so I'm opening the floor up for our speaker. Nkiru, over to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Omowale. It's a true pleasure and honor to be here. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in. I often say that you never share knowledge without learning yourself. So I think more than me and the things that I say, may the Lord also meet you in every challenge or every spot where you need the touch most. So I'm conscious that we have an hour, may even be less. So I'm going to go straight into it. I'm going to have a presentation for about 25 minutes, and then we're going to the discussions, as I like to call them. I'm going to ask that you be patient with me as I share my screen and get the presentation up. All right, cool stuff. So we'll go straight into it, and hopefully this thing is not rude. So we're going to be talking about career and business success. I mean, and I have titled it, What's the Point? What's the point without balance? And I'm going to go straight into it to say to you that today we'll be talking about, what is in the profile or what's not in my profile, defining success and fulfillment. I hope you can hear me and that is loud enough. Balance, a myth or reality, what these mean for you, and really how you should take a driver's seat and on all of this. So I think what is not in my profile is that I've been married for 17 years to obviously the love of my life. His name is Olumide, and I call him SSO, Seriously Special Olu. We've got two teenage sons who ask us questions that oftentimes is only Jesus that helps us to answer. I think that something else that is not in that profile is that I'm an advocate for female rights, but I still believe very strongly in the institution of marriage, just as Christ has made it. I'm going to go quickly to my next slide. Is there any reason you're not copying and changing as per instruction? Are you funny? Okay. Okay, I'll use this piece. Okay, so I think the first thing, and it's strange, or Marley, you're not wearing glasses, but I also can see the chat. But I think the question is, how many people wear glasses in here? You can pop up the responses into the chat. How many people wear glasses? Show of hands, show of hands, show of hands. Correct.
I'm still getting some volume. People are
challenge.
saying, yes, even I can't hear you very well. Okay, it's getting better now.
Oh, really? Okay, that's fine. I'll just hold it. I'm not sure what the issue is. Or I'll take off my earpiece, because sometimes the earpiece gives more trouble than you intend.
Exactly. Maybe try without.
Okay, I'll try without the earpiece. Is this better? Can you hear me?
Audience participants, which one?
Is this better? Can you hear me?
Okay, they're saying yes. They said a lot better. Okay.
So really? Okay, so the earpiece must be the issue then. So I mean, I asked about how many people wear glasses, and I hope that, you have popped that into the chat. And the reason I ask is, if I take off my glasses and give it to you, and you give me your glasses, it's going to be difficult for us to see even the next slide or see even your wristwatch. So I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that success is different for us both. What success means to me is clearly different. It's clearly different from what success means for you. And when I flip the slide, or even with the picture, you can see that everyone looks like they're going to the same direction, but they're not going to the same destination. So they must all be moving out of the train station or whatever that picture is. But some people might be going home, some people might be going to church, the market. So the point is, success is a journey, and it's not the same destination for everyone. I find as believers that 3 John 2 is often a basis to start off with in terms of defining success. And for me, that is always, I wish above all that thou will prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. I often say that alongside success is the spirit, the body, and the soul. Success in those 3 faces. Now, understand that the way I define success personally is to ask myself every day is, how many people are going to bed saying, for today, I thank God for Nkiru. For today, I thank God for Moale. I think that is success to me. And I feel like that's, just looking at the picture is, everyone is headed towards a direction, but not everyone is headed towards the same definition. So that's really important, because obviously as we flip slides too many times. So defining success should be guided by your values. What are your guiding values and guiding principles? One of the common comments you would hear these days is that there's a deficiency of values, and that there are people who can be anything. And I'm not even sure that when Paul said to us in the Bible that we should be all things to all men, that he meant it away from the confines of your values. It still has to be within your values. And what are your values? Your values are the guiding principles on the basis for which you live life. Is integrity a key principle for you? Is respecting one another a key principle for you? What are your own personal values? And I suppose out of that is, what are the other things that you want to do? So many people are successful and they don't have health because they spent a lot of energy chasing what the definition of success is and forgetting that health was important. So many people are lonely and successful because they chase success with all of their breath and might and lost their families. And therefore, I feel like you should think about it carefully to say, what does success mean for me? So many people have been successful, but they've lost themselves. And when I say they've lost themselves, it's because in the pursuit for success, they did things that made them lose themselves. I was talking to a young lady who had contacted me for some coaching, and she was saying to me, people are doing X and Y at work, and I can't do it because I can't sleep at night as I do it. And I said to her, you can't sleep because it's against your personal values. So you lose yourself because you're chasing success. I thought I should take from someone I consider a mentor his definition of success. And I use his because he's also a faith-based teacher. And John Maxwell says that success is knowing your purpose in life, growing to reach your maximum potential, and sowing seeds that benefit others. Remember, on the page preceding, I talked about who is going to bed saying, thank you for you. I know that there are lots of definitions and comments about success, but I also know that there's a qualification about success in the Bible. And he says, when you read your Bible morning, afternoon, night, I think it's in Joshua somewhere, you would have good success. And if something has been defined as good, it means that there also is the bad success. So very quickly, there's a lot of talk about finding fulfillment, and psychologists have said that fulfillment is the right mindset. And what it means is that you have to go on the search for the right mindset. And it's finding the right mindset that leads you to fulfillment. That means that it's also a journey, because when you are finding, it means that you're searching for something that is either lost or something that you don't have access to as yet. But there's a scripture that I thought about yesterday, and I think that is a scripture that talks about, I think it's Psalm 127 verse 2, and it's also in Ecclesiastes somewhere. And it talks about it is vain to wake up early at night and go to bed early late, and then he talks about he gives his beloved good sleep. But that's the A piece I'd like us to focus on. And the point is, in the long run, not even work fulfills you. Successful people, I remember a colleague I worked with, and he had left McKinsey and he had come, and then he was just a regular level lawyer. And I said to him, I mean, you said you were in the States and you were in McKinsey. How did you arrive in just being a regular, lawyer at this work? And he said to me, Nkiru, I was chasing the next bonus. I was chasing the next thing. I was seemingly successful, but I had no fulfillment. So I packed my things and I just left. One day I just knew I had to go. So the point I'm making is that in the long run, neither business, nor your career, nor politics will give you ultimate fulfillment. Ultimate fulfillment is found in the Lord. And I say that because you would find, I don't know how many of you, I liked Kate Spade and I carried her bags for a while, but I don't know how many of you remember Kate Spade who committed suicide, and so do many other people. And I say to themselves, when I'm going through a difficulty, I say, but how do people manage without the help of Jesus? I say so because it almost feels like an anchor. And I know that in the world today, there's so many varieties of what people term as their anchor. But the truth is, the deeper fulfillment, and if you listen to people who also have converted the faith, they talk about searching, I was there, and then eventually I came, to this spot. So I thought we should talk about balance a bit before we go into further discussions. And what does balance really mean for you? Again, remember the slide where I talked about success being a destination, being a journey, and that everyone's destination is different. And I feel like even with balance to me, I mean, if you read my book, Wale talks about my book, I spoke so assertively about finding balance, you can pay the price. But I guess as you progress and as you evolve, this is also the theme of the conference, you would find that balance actually, to disappoint everyone, is a myth. Because the truth is, balance is tough. It's tough because even when you're juggling balls, the reason, sometimes this one is high, sometimes this one is low, that's the way that it is. But to find the perfect balance where everything is perfect and seemingly stable, as I had on my first slide, I feel like it's a myth. Because there's literally no part of life that is equally balanced. And I know that your personality and your structure would make life easier. And I listened to Indra Nooyi a lot, the former CEO of PepsiCo, and then she talked about, even for women, that it almost feels as though our physiology is fighting against our desire for balance and our career success, whether as a businesswoman, a politician, or whatever. And she was saying that, so your babies are, when you're starting out, trying to make advancement, you've arrived as a manager, your babies are small, they're babies, and then you arrive as a manager, they're now bigger, they have a voice, they can say, Mama, where are you going to? You didn't come for PTA. They're now talking, and then you make further advancement. Maybe the organization then says, oh, she's so good, she needs to be, I don't know, transferred somewhere. And then it's funny because your children are at a certain stage, need a certain thing. But I say to you that even though balance is tough, your personality and having a structure makes it easier. I'd like to pause and talk about your personality. I find women who want to be successful in their careers, whether as business people, entrepreneurs, politicians, or whatever, and they're fussy. Fussing over what I can't understand. You hear girls who are talking very confidently, they say, I can't have a house help, and I'm not recommending anybody to follow any other person's lifestyle. I'm just explaining to you. And then you say, you can't, they say, no, I can't live with somebody. You can't live with somebody, but you live in Ikeja, you work in Victoria Island. You get home at 10 and then you start making dinner. What's the quality of life that you're living? And you keep hanging on to the personality that is fussy, and you keep struggling in the long run, because I just want to do the maths for you. So you arrived home from Lagos traffic at 9 or wherever. You start cooking at 9:30. You finish cooking at 10:30. You have a conversation with your children. Before you have a conversation with your husband, before you decide to settle, it's 12:09. So what's the point of being a fussy person? I also find young girls, I remember going to speak to some girls somewhere in a call center many years ago, and I said to them, having a structure just means that you make your money work for you and yourself work for you. And they said, what do you mean? So I said, when I was, my children were much younger, it's not like I had all the money in the world, but I knew that the money I had to work for me. Therefore, I had school uniforms for every day, because at the time, domestic staff were a bit unstable. I didn't want someone to come and say to me, I'm going this night and I'll be washing uniforms in the night. So I just knew I needed uniforms on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was possible to have Sunday every day of it. It was fine. What was I doing? I was preventing myself from suffering any funny casualty. So I said to them that, it's important that you structure yourself. I said to them, on my phone at the time, I had the phone number for everybody. I had the woman who could wash fish in the Nkiru market, blend, chop. All I need to do is just call you and then you run out, with the things, and I pay you. I don't even need to go into the market. And obviously things have advanced. You have people who are shoppers and all sorts of executive things. And you know what one of them said to me? She said, Ma, I said, what? She said, Ma, it won't taste the same. I said, oh, really? I've never met any man who's eating moi moi. And then he says, as he's eating the moi moi, he says, oh, by the way, are you the one that washed the beans? It tastes better just because you washed. Are you the one that blended? This moi moi, very nice, just because you blended the beans. So the truth is, balance is already tough. If you live in a cosmopolitan city, it's tougher. So you've got to adjust your personality and have a structure from being a fussy, unduly fussy person. I hear people that say, my siblings can't come to my house, it's just me and my husband. And you have 2 children that are small, there's no one that can hold them. You go from daycare to this, you carry, it's a lot of work. And therefore, what I tend to lean on is work-life integration. And what that has done for me is, it makes you understand that you can integrate work into your life, make it part of your life, but within that, you allocate different timings to it. And I know that for a lot of people who work from home, whether as entrepreneurs or as whatever it is that you worked as, one of the things that this whole work from home period did for us was to show us that work-life integration is possible. And the other thing that I talk about is understanding. Many years ago, people will come to me to say, and I'm not a marriage counselor, by the way, people will come to me to say, Auntie Nkiru, who do you think I should marry? Before I would say, is he born again? Is he this? I'll go long did he said, let us pray. Now I say, does he know Jesus? They say, yes. I say, is he kind? They say, I said, because to have a kind person means that half of your life's problem is solved. It means that you're a considerate person. It means that you're married to a realistic person who understands that life will get hectic, but is able to work the journey with you. And that's the piece that I often talk about. So having an understanding partner, having an understanding mother, having an understanding sibling, that just supports you, I think that it cannot be overemphasized. Now, I think that we've listened to a piece of this just before I run off to do the questions. I suppose the question is, what does this mean for me? How does this apply to me? And I don't think that it's funny that I put a cup of tea there. If you look at the espresso, whatever it was they had there, they put it off in a leaf. At the same time, somebody else can come and use a spoon and design it into a heart shape or whatever it is that they want. What am I trying to say? You've got to be dynamic. I find people who are so set in their ways, this is the only way or the highway, or this is how it's been done since 1606. You are not going to evolve if you keep holding on to the old ideas. If you keep holding on to the past thoughts of the way it has been done since, because it was done like that in 1606 doesn't mean that it should be done like that in 2020. I feel like it needs you to redefine yourself, redefine what success means for you, redefine what fulfillment means for you, redefine how you want to achieve balance, knowing that balance is a myth. Redefine, the type of circles that you surround yourself with. And the third thing I want to say to you is, you need to have a high level of self-awareness. And it's Socrates, the philosopher, that says, know thyself. Before you begin to know everyone, I think it was Sun Tzu as well that says, to lead others is great, but to lead yourself is more powerful. So I feel like we need to spend a bit of time, understanding ourselves, understanding, what the definition of success is for us, understanding what makes us tick, and understanding what it is that we want out of life. And, I was telling my husband a few days ago, I said to him, the reason that we made one decision that we made was because we didn't draw the picture. He says, you think so? I'm like, yes, because I feel like if you had drawn the picture, it gives you an idea of what it is that you see. And I know that the Bible even tells us to write the vision so that those who see it can run with it, including yourself. So having a high sense of self-awareness is really critical. It's critical in your chase for success, whether it's as a business person or as a politician. And having a high sense of self-awareness as well is having a high sense of emotional intelligence. We talk a lot about, what's her name? Was it Abigail? The lady who David ended up marrying because she shielded her husband from an attack by David's men. David had sent entreaties to her husband. I'm going to remember his name. And it was emotional intelligence that made her run ahead to say, please don't mind him. Was not a very manly man, very plenteous in wisdom. So the point is, you find a lot of people, and with apologies to the Gen Z and the millennials, because they think I'm after them. No, I'm not. I'm just practically saying, the problem that I find is a lot of people don't have a high sense of awareness, and also don't have people who are kind enough to give them a great review of themselves. So you will find everyone really carrying on and thinking they're great when in real life they're not great. That's a very dangerous thing. So having a high sense of awareness of your skills, where you have shortcomings and things, will help you understand, where you are on the journey of success. Now, the last thing I'd like to speak about is taking a driver's seat. Look, I say this because Jesus has already saved all of us, myself, yourself, everyone. No one else is coming to save you. You are the one after Jesus that should take the driver's seat in your life. And in taking the driver's seat is taking responsibility for the things that occur to you. When people come to talk to me and they have a victim's mentality, I'm like, oh God. The truth is, bad things and terrible things do happen to you, but the decision about how you rise above them rests with you. And I know that it is difficult, but I think that one of the things that we need to do is to seek wisdom. And when I say seek wisdom, I kind of feel like people think it's just to be wise. The truth is, there's an outbreak of knowledge every day you see. An outbreak of information, I beg your pardon, but there's a depth of wisdom and a depth of knowledge. There's a depth of how to apply all the wisdom that you hear. And the truth is, one of the big lessons and passions of John Maxwell is It's talking about winning with people. You know, there's no way you are going to maintain success, find fulfillment without people. People are an integral part of everything that you do. You know, and I find it, with all due respect, even with Christians, who are quite disparaging of help, disparaging of what's there. It was Jesus that brought this one, you bring another one. But Jesus used that person to honor you and to take you to the next level. How about you just honor? I'm not saying build an altar or form an idolatry, but how about you just provide some honor? Again, just in line with no winning with people, it's about you and the next woman. You know, this is something that I talk about often, and a few of my mentees will say to me, no, mama, that woman, always nice on social media, but in real life, the taste is not nice. And I find women who are quite, nice to their fellow women, and I struggle with it, because the truth is, even before you demand to be treated correctly by the other gender, how about you? How are you treating the other woman? How are you respecting her? How are you honoring her? I find this often that when, a man, let's say, just make an announcement, Mr. John has been made the president of Nigeria, everyone will say, oh, fantastic, that's my guy, we used to drink together, amazing. When it's a woman, they'll say, you're really sure she has a qualification? And these are other women. How did she get there? They had said in the political party that she was dating Mr. Thomas, Mr. James. That's how women, we can't be like that. My personal mantra is, lighting your candle doesn't dim mine. It only makes the place shine so much brighter. And I feel like those are some of the things that we need to adopt as principles in finding fulfillment. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is freeing yourself. Women, set yourselves free. And I say freeing your women. I remember one of my pastors I used to used to listen to quite often, Dr. Theodoso. He says that, one of his most memorable things about women is they'll come to his office for ministration. They'll come. They'll have different sheets. They'll bring out the sheets they've written it. Say, Pastor, in 1967, this was what he did to me. You open it, read it. Pastor, in 1980, he said, but you came for counseling and let all these things go. Why are you remembering the thing of 1960 and 1970? And I feel like that's how we're wired. Obviously, we're wired to remember, but the truth is you can set yourself free. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is, there's a lot of information and a lot of quests for information and knowledge by women. But the women who win are the women who are going to do. And by do, I mean that they're the women who are going to do the things that they have heard, the things that they've listened to. And, I put out a podcast recently saying how to make use of the mini webinars. We can't repeatedly keep attending. We've got to do. And the doing is put into action the things that we have heard. And I'd like very quickly to stop and thank you for listening. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can have a healthy conversation. So thank you, and over to you, and I hope that was audible.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me. Just testing the volume again.
Well, I can.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. And you really kept to time. So we still even have 5 minutes, which means that we have more time for Q&A. So ladies and any gentlemen with us, questions, please put them in the Q&A. Most times when ladies get married, they really get divided attention because they have the family to care for. And their boss might not want to give them more tasks, unlike the other male colleagues.
I mean, I just had the end of it, and it's about, hi Shim, lovely to see you. I mean, look, the truth is, a boss also just wants to get the job done. And if you demonstrate that you are challenged or you act like you are challenged, and I use this example often, and people say, no, Nkiru. I used to find that women were quite, so a man wants to go out of work. Women provide TMI. And obviously, depending on the culture of the organization. So a woman will come in the morning, Hi, I've got to go for an hour. My son needs to take a vaccination. Cool. It's going to come in the next hour. I've got to be away. My domestic staff just took off. Cool. She's going to come the third day, and then she's going to say, guys, I really have to be away. And my husband and I had a fight, and I'm going to see the counselor. That's great. But the truth is, she's taking 3 excuses in 1 week. And if you're the boss, even if you're trying not to be prejudiced, mentally you're going to be thinking, Omowale is not going to be available, emotionally. She's got a lot she's dealing with. I'd rather give it to John. So the truth is, you've got to demonstrate that you're available and that you're capable.
Okay. Okay. Did I freeze? I thought you froze. Did everyone get the end of what Mrs. Olumide-Ojo was saying? No, yes. No, yes. I'm getting mixed response. Okay, yes. A lot of yeses. Okay. All right. Nkiru, you said you can't see the chat box, right?
I can now.
Now you can. Okay, I was going to tell you that we have a lot of people. In fact, I think people are so busy saying thank you, how insightful, that we don't even have too many questions. But let me go on to the next question that we have. So someone says, I'm a mom of 2 toddlers. I currently don't have a system in place that allows me outsource some things. So it's hard to achieve most of all I have in mind to achieve in business. How can I, considering that my children are not going to school right now due to their ages and the pandemic, how can I still work towards achieving my goals in business and career? Any tips?
Okay, cool stuff. That's a good question. So before I provide recommendations, I'm going to provide the reality of life. The reality of life is that life is in stages. And the truth is, your children will not be toddlers forever. Therefore, what you can do is bootstrap your objectives. So for this time, given your circumstance, you probably don't want to travel directly to the moon. Maybe you want to spend the first 2 days or 2 years researching how to get to the moon, researching all the equipment you need, the types of clothes you should wear. And then after that, you can then start getting ready, physically fit. And then after that, you can go to the moon. Having said that, having a structure and a system is important. And I don't know your circumstances, but I still feel like there is a lot that we can do. Because I have found, I know how many people who come into my DM to say I'm a virtual assistant, I can help you with. In fact, the other day I was thinking, someone said to me, I can help you unclutter your wardrobe. I'm like, isn't that too personal? What's the problem? But the truth is, the point I'm making is there's an outbreak of irregular support, not like we had it. And I feel like if you kind of keep your ears, to the ground and obviously take recommendations, you may find the right support. Nkiru Olumide-Ojo, I've never shied away from sending my children to someone, my mother's house. I've always been quite open to it. If you do have that liberty, a friend of mine who had twins didn't have a mom, so she didn't have the liberty. But if you do have the liberty, sometimes you should exercise it. But don't forget what I said, you need to have your goals in bite size depending on the level that you are in.
Okay. All right. I feel like you may have answered this next question, but I'll still just mention it in case there's more to add. So this person says, please, can you shed more light on how to balance my career and family in a country where it is difficult to get help, most especially when one has just relocated? I know you said something about seasons, and all of that, but is there anything you want to add?
I mean, I always say to people, when I say seek support system, I mean, obviously it's going through the right governance, but what type of support? I mean, another thing, yes, good point I must make. I find that women are not investing correctly. Let me explain it. So a woman should ideally, I personally would invest in getting help that can hold my hand, wash my leg, versus carrying a Louis Vuitton bag. And I'm not saying that's her circumstance. I'm just saying I'm ready to forgo a weave so that I can get this thing that I desire. So it is back to structure and back to how much investment and back to the generosity of friends. And the generosity of friends is, I remember back then you would have, a friend who perhaps isn't working, is happy, is eager for you to come. I used to have my help. I can drop my help and my baby in someone's house so that there's somebody who is kind of overseeing. So is taking advantage of what system and structure comes your way. I also know that there are few nanny services that are a bit more structured. The lady, I don't remember her name, but she runs Baby Lounge. And I know that she also has customized services. So it is tough. I'm not saying it's easy. It's really tough. And in case I look all made up and all, in those days I used to be so sad I'll cry. But it is what it is. And you rub your makeup and you get on with it.
I think we're still going to stay on this issue of getting help and all of that, because I keep seeing various variants of the question. So someone is asking, how do I manage? Okay, let me put it this way: when there have been past issues of husband with maids in the past. But so obviously the person has said do away with maids. Person 16 years in marriage, how does that person resolve it? If I can complicate it a bit further, this is what this person asks. I know someone who has said, oh, I tried to get houseboys, but then I have only female children. And so there's also the fear of, exposure, abuse, and all of that. Do you want to, again, speak to that?
Yes. So I think that if you've had, a spouse who has transgressed with domestic staff, obviously you have to be deeply cautious. And what does deeply cautious mean? I think that the first rule you must have is there's no female domestic staff that sleeps in your house, as an example. And what that does is remove that, immediate connection. And the truth is, except this person is, the spouse, with all due respect, is highly unwell, but the older women who provide domestic services, and they can provide, this elderly mamas, my friend has one. They can come at 8 when you're going to work, you hand over the children. When both of you return to work, you receive the children, and then the person goes. Or you can I take my children to a domestic staff area, house, a baby lounge or whatever, I drop them. So obviously you're going to bear a bit of a burden because of the unusual circumstance that you are in, but I never do the opposite gender, never. I never do the opposite gender domestic staff. Because you even get some terrible things coming from the same gender, let alone the opposite. So please, that's a no-go. No-go area.
Exactly. And funny enough, that was what I was going to say, because I do know people with that practical example where they got an older woman. It wasn't even come and go to live in the house because obviously there was no attraction whatsoever. So they're elderly people. So that could be an answer. All right. Thank you for that. So there's another
Can
one.
we just ask also that the person is courageous enough to seek therapy? That would be great. Because let's not just solve the symptom and not, the actual challenge or ailment, if you can call it that.
That's if the husband is courageous enough to seek therapy. Okay,
yes.
If I can just add, sometimes it's not necessarily that there's an issue with the bait. It's just men that are attracted to any woman, which is the issue with a lot of men. So unless we're saying
that's it's not a lot of men. That's too generalistic. I'm not in that club.
Well, actually, it is from the people I've spoken to. It's actually a lot of men. I can say this, yes. So it's not generalizing. Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about maids. I'm saying affairs. So I was trying to say that I don't think the issue is just necessarily that the person is attracted to a maid, but that this is somebody that happens to maybe just like women, at least in the cases that I've seen. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so in the cases, but not a lot. A lot is quite generalistic, and there are many great disciplined men, to be honest.
There are. I agree. Okay, some people are saying a lot of men, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter. The point is, for this situation of maid,
lots of men, no.
For this situation of maid, I think we've gotten a very good tip there. So it doesn't have to be a young maid. Look for what works. Let me ask this one. Let's move away from the maid issue. Now, somebody says some women have mapped out their career, right? And they have this plan, very, ambitious. But after getting married, the husband starts to become the manager. And so basically the husband is, you are pregnant, so, you can't travel. Oh, you have small children, so you can't take up this position at work. How do you deal with that?
I speak at something every year. It's called the Blue Hills Women's Program here in South Africa. And I enjoy it because there are lots of young or married girls. And I tell them, what type of conversation are you having with a man before you marry him that you don't make your career a subject? So you've gone to school, you've gotten 2-1, you know you want to keep a career, you want to do business. What were you thinking when you started? You didn't think to say, honey, you know this my work is so important. It's a big part of my identity. I'm going to ask that you support me on this journey. And that's not to say that you can take your husband's view or go the direction that he takes. But the truth and the point I'm making is your career is so important. You must make it a pre-marital discourse. Even better, when you're in counseling, put it forward so the counselors can put in their views and you have a robust argument. But with that said, we are where we are, where the husband is trying to get you out of a different direction. I often say to women, never marry a man who doesn't have anyone that he fears. And when I say fear, anyone that he respects. So you have to go to this mentor. After you've spoken to him to say, honey, this career is really important to me. I would like to continue as the branch manager of Zone X branch, blah, 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 blah. I feel like it aligns with my next step. If he still says no, you have to prayerfully go to his mentor to say, sir, this is a big part of my identity. If I give it up, it's going to be very disturbing. How can you help us?
Fantastic. I think that's a nugget right there for single ladies. Never marry a man who doesn't have anyone he respects. He must be accountable to someone. So when push comes to shove, at least there's someone who can speak. Okay, let me come to some questions around career. So somebody says, please, what are your thoughts on working in a toxic environment? Do you stick it out for the sake of your goals or prioritize your emotional well-being over professional success? What's your
That's a very important question. Before we move forward, on YouTube, there is a message from TDJ. It's about how to survive in a toxic workplace. That's first of all. Secondly, you know that toxic is relative. And I say it's relative because it's dependent on how much you as a person can take. And that's why I went up to the comment about values. If it is tearing at your values, tearing and shredding your personal values. And I remember coaching a girl who had lost hair, on her head. And after a lot of conversation, we found out that it has to be the work and all the stress that she's going through. In the end, she left. And it was a tough decision. And when I was chatting to another friend of mine, she said she left because she had someone that will feed her now, blah, blah. Maybe, but sometimes you have to prioritize your emotional well-being. You have to. And the truth is, there is no amount of compensation that can compensate for ill health. And the challenge with the things that a toxic workplace culture brings is a lot of internalization. So you're internalizing anger, bitterness, and researchers say they lead up to cancer. Having said that, there is no place without its challenges. No place. There's no place, regardless of how great the organization is and its culture. So that's why I made the point of having a high sense of self-awareness. Are you the problem? Are you? Because I remember talking to a young girl who was saying to me, and she had come for a session and she was saying, oh, they don't like me, they don't. And I said to her, have you thought of your impact on others? So if you can really have, a session where you walk through and I remember many times I'll go to my husband back then and I'll say, honey, my boss doesn't like me. And he'll say, You say, what did you do? Then I'll say, we were going to have a big presentation. So I spent the whole night doing the presentation for him. And then I submitted it. And then my husband said, did you show him before you submitted it? I said, no, I was just trying to help. He says, but you can be sincerely wrong. So the truth is, I had to agree that I also, at the time, was a part of the problem. And after I took myself out of it, and I realized what the issues were, and I was able to solve it. But the truth is, you also can be a part of the problem, and be careful about how much you can take based on your mental health. So my advice again, please watch that TV Jakes thing. Think about if you are the person who is the problem. If you are, please correct your ways and see if you can change, your impact on others. And then also know what your limit is so that you don't become mentally ill. For no amount of compensation can compensate for mental health. But do people get challenges at work? Of course. I get, everyone gets. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So I will just to point out some things there about the toxic. You said something. You need to first of all find out, are you the problem?
Oh, yes.
And in your case, or in for those who are married, you may have a spouse that you can run things by. If you don't have that, you could talk to a mentor, probably a coach or an unbiased party. That's what I'm hearing, who may help to reveal where the issue really lies. So don't be so quick to think that the environment is the issue. All right, fantastic. Let's move to another one that normally comes up. This has to do with temperament. Let me put it like that, temperament. So what we see is women, trying to be good wives, submissive, or submitting and all of that to the husbands. That's what a lot of people are taught, right? Do this and that. But then at work, you find that you're in a position of leadership, and really that doesn't require being submissive or subservient. And so people struggle with almost like the dual personality. I know that Indira also spoke about that, so at work, you're supposed to be a boss. At home, you're supposed to be a follower. At work, you're the leader. How do you juggle that? Also, just to add to that, you have places where, especially maybe women in leadership, you have a strong personality. It's a temperament. It's part of what has gotten you to where you are. You don't say no, you're goal-oriented. But at home, that becomes sort of an issue because your husband is almost like, why are you trying to control? Why are you trying to give orders? Why are you so aggressive? How do you balance that?
I mean, whilst we were talking, two things came to mind, and it was Michelle Obama. She says that when Barack walks out of one wing of the White House, the other wing where they live, President Obama, that he's just Barack and he's not anything else. So the truth is, and it's back to the high sense of self-awareness, I don't know, what's confusing you? Is your house your office? There's no need to be confused. You've got to know how to turn on the hat and turn it off. Because the truth is, your spouse didn't marry the boss. Your spouse married Wale, who's the person that he was attracted to, and I'm not saying leave those type of skills at work, because obviously the skills will come in handy, but no one here is your boss at home. You are here to be the wife and here to be a partnership in a marriage. So I struggle. I remember one of the things my pastor told me many years ago when I was going to get married. I go to traditional church, redeem. Somebody says they want to marry you, you have to go to the pastor, that's traditional thing. And I remember sitting with him and saying, he said, oh, Mr. John came to marry you. I said, yeah, but Pastor, how can? Mr. Mary said, Pastor, how can? And he said to me, he says, one of the problems I find is that people think quite unduly of themselves. And he says, I hope you never fall into that situation. It was as though a pill came out of my eyes. And I just thought, really? And I just thought, that is the problem. The truth is, who do you think you are? Sorry, just to say, put it straight. Who are you? And I don't care if you're the bill payer. Because the truth is, in the end, yeah, somebody's partner, mother, blah, blah, blah. A good friend of mine, Yewande Sadiku, she's the Secretary General for NIPC in Nigeria. The day her children found out that she was Secretary General for NIPC, they said, Mama, is this you? They said, are you for real? You mean you are? So she said, yes. Hey, okay, I had no idea. So the point is, because all she is just a regular mother living her life. So you should be able to make the switch. There's no need to think too highly of yourself. People are mothers, people are doing greater things. So what's the problem, really? Sorry to be so blunt, but that's how I am.
I call it straight talk. But I think I really love that. And you said something that I want to just repeat in case the people at the back didn't hear. Your husband didn't marry a boss, he married a wife. And so you must know how to make the switch. Be a boss at where you're to be a boss, and be the wife where you're to be a boss, and be the wife. Fantastic. Okay. Yes, somebody says basically self-awareness.
Correct. It's back to it. People have very low self-awareness. And I see people who, I remember one young person who came to me and said, blah, 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 I'm so good at this, I'm so good at that. I'm like, really, you are? Okay, all right, that's great. Here's an assignment, do it. All the goodness and all the messes disappeared. So I thought, And I said to her, because, I mean, part of my leadership abilities to coach you, I think you should do this test to check your self-awareness level, because you're missing. Who you think that you are is actually not who you are in real life. So you need to have an alignment of those.
Who you think you are. Okay, thank you. Oluwanifemi says the veil has been removed. Fantastic. So relating to what you're saying, correct. People are saying true. Thank you, ma. All right, I think you set a lot of people free with that. Okay, so we have another question. What is your take on quitting one's current job in order to relocate to where your partner is, bearing in mind you currently earn more than him? This made me quit my relationship. So I think this person isn't married, single, not married, but he felt like I did something wrong. But I guess the person is wondering, if I keep doing this, am I sabotaging myself? That's me adding that. What's your take?
That's a serious one. But I think that a lot is dependent on both partners. And I remember a lady that I admire a lot. She'll probably be shocked that I remember this conversation. She's like my shadow mentor. Somebody had come to report to her that, in the house, she was a breadwinner, she had been breadwinner for a while, and blah, 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 blah. And she said, I think your husband should get a job. I said, but just before you go, let me tell you that money is only an errand master. And God will send it into the hands of anyone he feels will run the errand. So that's the first thing. So can we put that aside, as what a spiritual leader has said? Let's go down to practical. Do you have a conversation with him to say your remuneration cannot sustain us? And what did he say? That's statement one. Number two, in the location that he is in, did you explore the options? And not the options that can give you the immediate reward, because let's say he lives in London. I don't know that you can immediately switch experiences if you don't have a UK-based experience to earn at the same level. In any case, the tax is 40%, is very heavy, so your net will still be low. But the question is, did you explore opportunities in that market? And what did you both agree on? Did it look to you like he wasn't amenable? Or did you feel like he was a stingy person who you kind of have seen one or two signs that he's stingy and it's not going to work? Maybe if you tried these things and it didn't work out, maybe you took the right decision. But I also feel like if you didn't explore, then you're going to be looking back for a while. And you'll be looking back because you didn't do all the boxes, you didn't check all the boxes. And I say to people often, before you take those heavy decisions, find a mentor, find a coach, find somebody who you think has walked the path. So as an example, if I had that type of challenge, I would go to a working woman who's adult, who's mature. I won't go to someone who's big, with all due respect, maybe who runs her own business, or who's a stay-at-home wife, or who's been being funded in whatever way, because she probably wouldn't understand my strong desire to be independent and have my own money. So those are very big decisions. Don't take them alone. Find any of this type of persons that I've described to help you take that decision. And when you have to prayerfully move on. If it was Jesus that brought him, Jesus would bring another one. Just wait and be calm during the waiting period.
Hallelujah. If Jesus brought him, he'll bring another one. I like that. Just to give you some idea of what's going, because I know you can't see the chat. We have over 400 people. Victory, hello Victory. Victory says, I love your bluntness, Mrs. Nkiru Olumide-Ojo. You say it just the way it is. Tushima says, thank you, Ma. You are so practical and balanced. Damilola just got something from the Holy Spirit. She says, thank you, Holy Spirit. So Damilola has a miracle from this praise, says, wow, awesome. And just so many comments. So just wanted to let you know what people are saying. Okay. Still more questions. There was one I was going to ask you. Okay, so there's one that came in. Someone was saying, how do I, balance having a career and business? So I guess the person means maybe, professional employment, but then business, because she likes health and she also likes fashion. How do you balance it? What's your take on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think firstly, not everything that you like can become a revenue generator. not because you like cement manufacturing, does it mean that you can turn it into a business? So I think that whilst you're running your 9 to 5 job, just by principle, I always encourage you to do something, no matter how small. I mean, I remember in my 9 to 5 roles, even when I thought I was on a high earning power, I always sold. I started out selling weaves. I'll sell weaves before it became fashionable. I would sell clothes. I had to do something. My mom is Igbo and my dad is Edo. So sometimes I feel like it's probably my mother's blood saying, do something, do something, do something. So it's great to do something, but be careful, because a lot of times I did things that was a lot of activity but no revenue. And so you've got to be careful before you go into the sector to say, what is required of me? Is there a market? I was telling my husband the other day that before I venture into any of these things, I'm going to need a channel of distribution. I can't come here and wasting my money. And that was in response to a business I had done that didn't go well. So the truth is, you've got to do the research like anything else, and you've got to be sure that you have a channel for the products and the solutions. Sometimes invest in small research. But most importantly, the truth of this whole thing, because I also get the question, can I leave my 9 to 5 and follow my hustle? You can, but make sure the numbers are adding up. And I say to people, sometimes the hustle is growing so fast, it's like pulling you, and you can tell that it's pulling you and dragging you, and then you respond. But if it's not, you're doing your 9 to 5, you're struggling, you're still using your 9 to 5 to fund the side gig or the hustle, and then you're trying to leave. How are you going to pay your bills? Just wondering. You must do it like a seesaw. You must do it until one is shifting to the other side, and you know it's a good shift and you can leave. I also know that the conditions will never be perfect, but at least they should be reasonable.
Okay, all right, thank you. I like what you said about the Igbo blood. So shout out to all our Igbo sisters here. Hashtag do something. All right, there was another question about politics. Politics at work. Should you get involved? Should you? So people say, you know, some. Let me be careful. I don't say a lot or most or some. There's a whole debate about that. A lot of men. So, but people say that put in your own description. Some, a lot, are not really politically savvy at work, and so this, you know, hurts their chances. What is politics?
Okay. I heard that, and then it stopped somewhere.
Did I cut out?
You did, but I heard that politics at work. Look, the truth is, and obviously I speak as I have evolved, because I obviously took a different mindset. Whether or not you look for politics will come and find you and sit on your lap in the office. Will come and find you and then say, is that from Wale? It's okay, let's just sit down, you sit on your lap. Therefore, I say to people, I feel like for women, there's something that they did to us that made us think that politics is negative. And I thought so for years. I even inferred it in my book. But the truth is, there's the ant and the sugar theory. Anywhere you find sugar, you would find ants. And therefore, the onus is on you to understand a few things. Where, number one, in a corporate, understand where the power dynamics lie. I say to people, even though you don't have the skill to politics, at least know where the power dynamics lie so you don't fall into a trap. Understand who the power players are. And I say to people, you know how you play that square game, and I apologize if they're non-Nigerians on this call, where you play the square game where you have the squares and then you jump from one square. At least when you know where the power dynamics are, you can hop from one square box to another without getting hurt. That's another piece. The truth is, every woman needs to know the skills to navigate the workplace, because that's where we struggle, and that's where they kick us out. Because we don't have the wiles, we don't have the emotional intelligence. And guess what? You can learn it too. Children is on this call. Ask her, you can learn it. The truth is you can. You can because you have a high sense of self-awareness to say, this is a skill that I'm lacking in. I'm going to be deliberate about how to navigate the workplace. And I'm not saying be a bad politician. You can be a good politician. But the truth is you cannot shy away from it. It's the same way we Christians, in a lot of ways, want to stay outside. We've got to influence. If we're not in the inner circle, we can't have the right president. Our votes won't count. So even at work, we've got to work to influence. It's very tough, but it's doable.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So politics, and there's something that politics 101. There's politics everywhere, even in the family. Even parents that say, I love all my children the same way. They don't love all their children the same way. So the point is, being aware, learning how to have influence. Okay. Let's see. I think we have, we are at time. Let me just quickly take this since we're talking about politics. Somebody says, by politics, you mean diplomacy? Maybe just clarify. Chichi is asking.
So navigation, it is navigating the workplace to get sometimes a desired outcome, or it's navigating the workplace to stay safe. Navigating the workplace to stay safe, or navigating the workplace to get a desired outcome.
All right, we are at time, and so I've been told I wanted to continue this politics one. There are lots of comments coming in on it, but thank you so much. Short period of time. This is her book. I don't know if, I think it may be mirrored the wrong way around, but it's called The Pressure Cooker. So there was a question, Nkiru, where can people get your book? Let me try.
So Latana has, but I know that a lot of people are on social media, Book Peddler, .ng, Book Peddler on Instagram and wherever else she is, and Narrative Landscape, who are the publishers. They all carry it.
Okay. So that's in Lagos, Nigeria. Anywhere else outside of the country?
I have to remember to think international. It's on Amazon. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a shame. It's on Amazon. No, it's been on Amazon. It's on Kindle as well. It's on Kindle, so you can get e-copies. I'm very embarrassed.
We have to add marketing class to all your many skills. Okay, so it's on Amazon, it's on Kindle, which means wherever you are in the world, you can get the book. Thank you so much, everyone. We've had a really wonderful audience, participants. They've been really engaging, people typing things. Thank you so much. You've been an amazing set of participants, and I think we need to log off. And I pray that the miracle that we said you will get it. Even if you get it right now, something will hit you from what you've heard, and you will get that miracle in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much.